What up, book lovers? It is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about some books I have 5-star predictions for. So if you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And this week's topic we have done previously. We did this time last year. There's a little bit of a hint in case you want to know the January topics beforehand if you want to ever start pre-filming. Majority of the time, I will most likely make the January topics the same for every year because the topics can be used every year, especially at the beginning of the year. And I personally love starting off the year with 5-star predictions because as much as this is an anytime topic, I reckon that it's a good way to look at the TBR you have for the year and think to yourself, okay, these are my most anticipated releases and these are some books I want to get to this year. Do I happen to have high expectations for them? So I decided to do the same this year, even though I have not yet finished my former high-star predictions TBR, like my favorites predictions. I have not yet completed that, unfortunately. However, I do plan to review the books in that video separately another time. I don't know whether I would combine a review of that video with this video. We will see. However, I can kind of see myself getting to majority of these first before I can even see myself completing the former books I put on my previous 5-star predictions TBR. I know I am terrible. Without further ado, let's get straight into the books that I plan to read, hopefully sometime this year or sometime soon, that I have very high expectations for, and I think these books could potentially be worthy of a 5 stars. I'll probably start off with the books I don't yet own first. The first book I would like to mention that I have high expectations for, to the point that I might just rate it a 5 out of 5 stars, we will see. And I am so looking forward to reading, but I currently don't have a physical copy. I have, however, ordered a physical copy of this book, but at the moment, as I'm filming this video, it's currently in transit to me. Very much looking forward to Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. I specifically wanted this book in the US hardback because of the stunning cover. I don't think that the UK cover compares to it at all. I don't like the UK cover. I think that the UK cover just looks a little bit generic as opposed to this beautifully illustrated cover. I am also very much looking forward to this book because Rin Chupeco is also the author of the Bone Witch trilogy, and in my opinion, the Bone Witch trilogy is one of the most well-written trilogies ever. And I already know that I love Rin Chupeco's writing style, and I also love the way that they write their characters. So I'm really hoping, based on this story potentially being a character-driven story, I will really love it. But also, I mean, Silver Under Nightfall follows vampires, and I am very curious as to when an author that I've read previously has a take on vampires. I don't know why. Everyone's take on vampires is different, and for some reason, I'm very much drawn to the idea of Rin Chupeco writing about vampires. So Silver Under Nightfall, fingers crossed, will be the book for me. I have very high expectations for this novel because I've been waiting years for Silver Under Nightfall. And the next book I have on my 5-star predictions TBR is Cherish by Tracy Wolff. If this book does not meet these 5-star expectations, I will be so upset. And the reason why I will be so upset is because Court and Charm were both 5-star books for me. I adored them, and that's like the second half of the series. I'm really hoping that the second half of the series is 5-star worthy. Cherish is the finale to the Crave series, and honestly, I reckon it's probably gonna take the main characters to die for me to give it a lower rating, or potentially it's going to take the book having to be covered for me to duck down a star. In terms of the finale, I have high expectations for this finale. I don't expect this finale to be the most epic of epic because we are going to get spin-offs in this world. I don't expect this finale to be super conclusive. I do expect this finale to have somewhat of an open-ended ending because we have spin-offs that are planned in this world, and I'm very much looking forward to them. However, I need to know that Grace and Hudson are going to be okay. That is all that matters to me at this point. I don't know how I'm gonna deal if they're not okay. I have been waiting for Cherish for a while. I probably would have put it on my last year's 5-star predictions TBR, but I mean, I kind of also had a feeling it was gonna get pushed out, and it did get pushed out. I'm hoping that it will knock my socks off in 2023. We will find out together. I just hope that it's as epic as Court, but also as kind of wholesome as Charm. I just want the two extremes, please. And my next most anticipated release I have 5-star predictions for is A Fire in the Flesh, which is the third and final book in the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer Jennifer L. Armentrout. I don't remember my last year's 5-star predictions list. Did I put The War of Two Queens? I really don't remember, but what I do know is that that book was not a 5-star book whatsoever. It wasn't even a 3 or a 4-star. It was like more like a 2-star. A Light in the Flame absolutely wowed me last year, and it made me realize that this series has become my favorite of the two. Like, I love the Blood and Ash characters so much, and Poppy is a character that I still kind of resonate with the most. However, the plot of the series, the romantic dynamic, the tension, all of that stuff, everything that builds up to the Blood and Ash series, because this is a prequel, all the Easter eggs, everything. I love this series so much for all of it. So I do have high expectations for this book. I don't know how Jennifer L. Armentrout is going to conclude this trilogy, knowing that there are so many Easter eggs for the Blood and Ash series. It's probably just like when Cassandra Clare was ending the Infernal Devices series, when the Mortal Instruments series was continuing, because it is a prequel series to another series that essentially started off in the world, that introduced everyone to the world. The prequel series has got to conclude while the other series has got to continue. I don't know how she's going to conclude this, but because it's a finale, it has to be epic. A Fire in the Flesh I have higher expectations for, and I think I have higher expectations for it because there's so much more I want to see. There's so much more I want to see within this trilogy. It's a trilogy. That means that I don't want it to be rushed. No, I want Jennifer to be able to flesh out the story very well. I want her to flesh out Flesh and Fire and make this trilogy an amazing one. One that I will continuously recommend, because I've been recommending this series. I've been hyping it up since book 1, since day 1. So I'm really hoping that this series and the finale gets that treatment. And the final out of my most anticipated releases of 2023, before I go into the books that I actually have my physical TBR now, that I think is potentially worthy of a 5 stars, is The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport. This is the sequel and the finale to The Blood Trials, and if this book is written just as incredibly as The Blood Trials, this book will get a 10 stars out of me, because The Blood Trials was so good. It is a new release of 2022 that you don't want to miss. If you have missed it, what are you doing? It's incredible. And if you have missed it and you're wanting to read it, then please read it now before The Blood Gift comes out, because I have a feeling that The Blood Gift is going to be epic if it is anything like The Blood Trials. I have really high expectations for this book, and I am really hoping that this book meets those expectations, because I will be absolutely devastated if it doesn't. Pretty much same thoughts as Cherish and A Fire in the Flesh here. This is a finale that I really want a lot from. I hope that all ends are tied up neatly. The first book kept me reading non-stop. I actually started the book in the middle of the night when I read it. I was just trying to fall asleep and I could not fall asleep, so I started The Blood Trials. I couldn't put it down. And the funny thing was, when I went to work that day, I was really sleep deprived. And honestly, that was definitely the fault of The Blood Trials. It was an incredible book. Now I'm hoping that The Blood Gift gives me the same kind of adrenaline, because if it doesn't give me the same kind of adrenaline, if the story is not as good, if it's not as fast-paced, if it's not as plot-driven, I don't know what I am going to do. Fingers crossed, The Blood Gift will be amazing. Now let's move on to the books that I currently own. First of all, I want to talk about Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I know nothing about this book, but I hear that it's amazing. I keep on seeing 5-star reviews for this book. I rarely hear people say terrible things about this book. So I have a feeling that once I will go into it, I will be amazed. And look, I also cover bought this book because the covers for the series are absolutely incredible. And I also noticed that there's some naked hardback art here, which is cool. Look, I know nothing about this book, but I keep on seeing people recommend it, and people have been asking me if I've read it yet. And you know what? No, I haven't. I'm talking about it right now. I have not yet read this series, but I want to this year because I'm hearing that this is like the next best thing, and that's why I put it on this list. I haven't really put it on this list for any particular reason other than the fact that it's getting really hyped up right now, and everyone's talking about it, and everyone is saying that it's their new favorite series. I want in on the hype. So I have a feeling that this book series I know nothing about is going to be a 5-star series, or at least one of the books is going to be a 5-star. And the next book slash series I have on my TBR that I have 5-star predictions for is the Deliciously Dark Fairy Tale series, or at least A Ruin of Roses by K.F. Breen. This is a companion dark fantasy fairy tale series that I'm so looking forward to reading. However, A Ruin of Roses, I believe, is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, and I've already mentioned this on my channel previously. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite fairy tale of all time. I know I have daddy issues. Yeah, no, I love Beauty and the Beast so much. Yeah, and I have problems, I know. But Beauty and the Beast is just one of those fairy tales that absolutely captivates me every time. No pun intended there, my goodness. Every single time I read a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast, I tend to love it. I mean, the first time I even read ACOTAR, even though ACOTAR is a terrible terrible Beauty and the Beast reimagining because the Beast is Tamlin and Tamlin is terrible. I fell in love with the book the first time I read it. I mean, without actually really looking at the warning signs. Beauty and the Beast is one of those stories where I get invested. Knowing that A Ruin of Roses is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, that's like one of my buzzwords. Like, I will pick anything up that is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining. And K.F. Breene, I've heard nothing but great things about their works. K.F. Breene is a very beloved author, and I have a few book series I want to get to from them, but this is one that is like top priority for me, and I reckon that this series, or at least this book, might just potentially be a 5-star read from me. I really hope it is, because I have high expectations. Because this book is from a very loved author, and it's a reimagining of a fairy tale that I've always loved. And the next book slash series that I have high expectations for is the Savage Lands series by Stacey Marie Brown. So I told myself I was going to read this before my Arcane Society renewal came, and no, I didn't. I am going to get the Arcane Society editions of this series because the auto renewal happened, but for some reason I didn't want to read this book like right at the end of 2022 and not read like the rest of the series in 2023. Like, I want to binge read the series. I just hear great things about the series, and I hear it's a very emotionally taxing series. I hear that everyone gets invested in the characters in Savage Lands, and also it's an apocalyptic fantasy, which, I mean, I've only read like maybe 1 or 2 of, so I'm very much curious about Savage Lands, and I'm actually hoping that this apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic fantasy is one for me. From the very first time I heard about Savage Lands, I kind of had the vibe that this was going to be one of my new favorite series. I had the same vibe with the Bargainer trilogy, by the way, so I'm hoping that my gut instinct is telling me right, and that this series is going to be a new favorite of mine. But I do have to admit, yes, it has been ridiculous how many times I've put this book series, or at least this first book, on TBRs and did not get to it. The second last book slash series that I really want to get to this year that I have 5-star expectations for, I have 5-star expectations for at least the first book in the series, because I hear that the last book isn't the best finale according to the fandom. However, I hear that the series is amazing overall, and that, my friends, is the Bonds That Tie series by J. Bree, the first book being Broken Bonds. As I'm filming this video, I only received my copy of Broken Bonds yesterday, and I am so excited. I did not know that J. Bree was also an Australian author, and that at the moment they are coming to Rare. I cannot wait to potentially get my book signed by them at Rare. But this is very interesting because it's a fantasy that has bonds like a lot of high fantasy worlds do with fae and everything. However, I heard someone summarize the plot, or at least the synopsis of this book series, and from what I remember in the way that they described it, is that this is a fantasy where the protagonist was running away from her potential bonds, and then she ends up getting bonded to 5 men. So yeah, it's an RH series, but it's fascinating. Honestly, I think the thing that fascinates me about the series so much is that this book series gained a lot of traction and a lot of hype so quickly, and I'm just curious about it. I mean, I'm not just curious about the RH aspect of it, I'm also curious about how these bonds work. I'm curious about the magic system in this world, and I'm also interested in seeing whether or not I'd be attached to all the characters that we meet in this series, because we're meeting like 5 love interests here, and I'm hoping that all 5 of them are at least good friends to the protagonist, and I also want to get to know this protagonist and kind of why she wanted to run away. I hear that the first book is absolutely incredible. I hear that the last book isn't as great, and I think it's because people wanted to see more of certain characters. That's the problem with having so many characters in a book series, but you know what? I will take it. I will take what I can get. I am very much interested in reading the Bonds That Tie series, and also, I mean, Australian author represent. At least a book series from an Australian author is getting this much hype. And the final book that I have 5-star predictions for. I've had 5-star predictions for this book ever since I heard what this book was about. I hope that it delivers, because I hear absolutely great things about it, so I don't really have any doubts about it, but I am nervous. I really am nervous about When Gracie Met the Grump by Marina Zapata. Camilo purchased a copy for me. I'm so over the moon because I've been looking forward to this book being published in a traditionally published paperback for a while. I would have purchased the independently published paperback. However, the recommended retail price in Australia for the independently published paperback was $52, and this one was only $22.99 from Dimmicks, so I'm pleased. I saved 30 bucks. The reason why I have high expectations for this novel is that it's a romance novel that follows a superhero and I believe a normie. Just in general, a superhero romance. This is what I've wanted for a while. I mean, look, I would read about romances in comic books, and like, I do enjoy comic book romances. I really do. The problem is, like, comic books would often focus on on the plot and would focus on the story, because at the end of the day, those comic books are meant to focus on the actual hero's journey rather than the romance. However, When Gracie Met the Grump is a romance novel that just so happens to have a subplot of a superhero doing superhero things. I'm excited because I finally get a romance novel with a subplot I've always wanted. But not only that, this is beside the point, but the protagonist, it looks like she has my name as well. Like, so that makes it a little bit more exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. It's a chunker of a book, so it's not like I'm going to have the complaint that it was too short, from what I know. It looks like a very slow burn book based on the amount of pages here. I'm hoping that there's a good amount of superhero plot in this based on the fact that it is very chunky. I have very high expectations for this book, and I've never read anything by Mariana Zapata before, so this is saying a lot. Honestly, this is entirely based on the synopsis of the book. I'm hoping that I will love When Gracie Met the Grump. I'm hoping that this book meets all the needs that I've ever had in the entire universe. I really don't know. I think I have higher expectations for When Gracie Met the Grump than any other book on this list, and I think it's because that the premise really excites me. It really intrigues me. I've always wanted a superhero romance that emphasizes the romance, the romantic subplot, the romantic plot in general. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the star emoji to kind of go with the 5-star predictions video. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. Also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/GSwizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
I did always have, and I flipped it in a double. All that I would have, and I flipped it in a double.